Hey guys, welcome and welcome back. Today I wanted to show you guys my journal and do a quick sort of midway flip through my journal and what's been working for me lately. This is my first time in a Hobonichi Cousin, and I am working in a systemic cover, which I have taken the notepad out from behind it, but I just wanted to flip through a couple pages that I figured you guys might want to see, and that way you guys can get a gist of what I've been doing in here lately and what my thoughts are for things that might be useful for next year as well. So starting off, we'll kind of just dive right into it. Like I said, I've been using a Hobonichi Cousin this year. This is my first year in a Hobonichi Cousin, and it's been a little bit of a learning curve, I will say. I will kind of talk through it as we go along here, but firstly, the monthlies, I have a couple of, I think just a couple of these pages tabbed off, and essentially, I didn't really know how to use this. I previously was working in a bullet journal, in a notebook therapy journal, the one that's the week size, and it was going pretty well. It wasn't Nothing bad came of that. I was actually pretty consistent with that. However, I did find that towards the end of the year, it was becoming kind of a hassle to build my weeks out every day. And I was getting tired of the limited space and just the one format that I could use. And so for 2025, I really wanted to try something different. And I do have my Apple Calendar that I really do keep up to date. And so I always like to say, if it's not in my Apple Calendar, then it doesn't exist. And then if it's not in my planner, then I won't remember it. So it's kind of one of those things. Now, I initially was just kind of putting stickers in here and then just filling out whatever I could kind of jot down, anything like that. And then it wasn't until June, really, that I got into the gist of what I wanted to do in here and how to decorate and things of that sort. I gave a try to tracker habit tracking, and that was nice. I will say I don't necessarily fill this out daily. I kind of just batch fill at the end of the week and go from there. And so that's been what's working for me. And I feel like this has really been, a fun space for me to decorate every month now. I got the gist of what I wanted it to look like. And like I said, I don't fill these out, but I do go back and I fill those out. So I do still have to do this for July. Moving into the weeks, this was something that was a bit of a difficult thing for me to learn how to fill out. I really wanted to fill these pages out. I do love seeing everyone's attempt at these online, and I have so many of them pinned. But when it came down to me doing it, I'm not a time blocking person, and it just wasn't working for me. And so I did try a couple things. I did have a lot of empty pages that I just didn't know what to do with. And so I actually ended up going back and filling out these as pen diaries. I did go through a fountain pen stage, and I had like an awakening with my fountain pens. And so I wanted a space to really jot down my thoughts on the pen and the ink, and how they were affecting, the writing and things of that sort. So I really like that I use these pages for this, because it was a good way for me to fill up that page, and it's nice to look back at because I think it's pretty satisfying with all the colors. And so when I did give it a try to kind of go back into this, I was doing like just a regular bullet note situation, like a to-do list, and that wasn't necessarily the best. I felt like I was rewriting a lot of the stuff that I was putting in my dailies, and so that was a little bit of annoying. I did, like I mentioned, the pen diaries were really something really useful for me. So I did give a try at the dashboard layout. I saw a couple people doing this online, and I wanted to give it a try. This was like my mock trial for the weeklies, and I had seen Dandelion Diaries do some of these, and she breaks hers up like this, and I love how hers are, and I think they're really useful for her. But I did find that this was just not working for me. This page was a little bit of a chaotic week. Um, my ink splattered. Fun story about this, I was obviously refilling a pen, and this is Noodler's Black X Feather ink. So it's definitely a permanent ink. And when I was changing this out, I actually got it on one of my favorite pair of jeans, and that ink is still there. I still wear those jeans all the time because they're one of my favorites, and it's definitely a conversation starter. So there's that. But this is when I started noticing a lot of the discrepancies with the pages with the Tomo River paper the Sanzen paper that a lot of people have been noticing with the Hobonichi Cousin this year. And a lot of it was obviously I was shifting into more of a fountain pen style, I guess, per se. I was trying a lot of different inks, a lot of different pens, and with that came a lot of the issues that I had with the paper. Initially, I wasn't having those issues because I was just using a regular pen. And I will say, actually, one of my favorite pens to work in here with is the Uni Ball 1 and the 0.38. I absolutely love this pen. If I could just have one pen, I think it would be this one, which is crazy. But my handwriting and everything is just so nice in this pen that I always like to it's always in my bag, even though I want to try to use my fountain pens as much as I can. But I was having a lot of issues with this week here. And I realized that the dashboard layout just really wasn't working for me. I'm not a like category person. And I was realizing that this was very compartmentalized for me. And it felt more of like a fill in the blank type of situation versus it being useful for me. And so I started trying something else. And from here, also for anyone that cares, I love this ink. It's Colorverse Blue Dragon 2024, I believe. And although this ink is beautiful, it's teal, I love it. If I wrote this in May, if I was to just wipe my hand across this page, my entire hand would be teal. And it's so frustrating for me because I can't write in this I can't write in that ink, and I bought the entire bottle of it, and it's so beautiful. And like I think you can tell here a little bit that like there's a little bit of like sheening. There's a lot of sheening in it, which is probably why it doesn't dry down fully, but it's just very hard to work with because I'll end up with like teal hands in a matter of seconds. Now, moving on, I did try the horizontal layout. I think towards the end of May, I started getting antsy with what was working for me, what wasn't. And I gave a try at doing the horizontal weeks and then the other side with the Hobonichi weeks. I love those layouts of people, and it's very similar to what I was doing in the notebook therapy bullet journal that I was using. But this just doesn't work out for me. And although I love how messy this page is, I think it has to do a lot with the washi tape because it's just one of my favorite washi tapes that I own. But you can see here that this just wasn't working for me. I think I was having a lot of issues with like the the ink, and it was just really frustrating for me, and it just wasn't working. I've also realized that I'm more of like a vertical planner, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I've realized that if I'm writing down, like if I'm writing Monday and then Tuesday comes and I'm writing Tuesday and I'm running down, like I'm moving through my week in a vertical manner, it doesn't work for me. I feel very stuck on Monday. Like I feel like I haven't finished Monday. However, if I'm moving horizontally throughout my week, and even if I just get one task done on Monday, when I move to Tuesday, it's a new day, it's a new week. I can conquer the world. So I don't know if I'm alone in that, but it's definitely something that I noticed with me with this attempt. And so I kind of combined best of both worlds here. And I did the dashboard, but in a little bit of a different way. And so I did just do my note, like bullet to do list on the top. And then I found that the rolling weekly or like the rolling to-do list really was useful for me. I love this. This is like my best format of like having a to-do list. And then a mood tracker in some format, and then rate this week, which I will say this portion is something that I don't necessarily look forward to filling out every week, but I kind of like that I like force myself to, because at the end of the day, like when I, go back on a random day, I'd like to see how my week went, and it gives me a good time frame of where I was emotionally or where I was like mentally, if I was stressed, if I was overwhelmed. And so it's a really good point of reference for me. And sometimes it's something really small. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it's just some words that let me know, like, hey, this was a great week, or hey, this week we went through it. But yeah, this really worked for me. And I like that I can change the amount of space that I have at the bottom depending on, how busy I am, or, what I have coming up that week. I think it's, very flexible for me, but at the same time, it gives me the structure that I need. And I've found that this really is where I thrive. And because I know that this works for me, I've gotten a lot more comfortable with how I decorate or where I'm putting things, and if it's simple, if it's not, how many stickers I can really put in there and keep it really simple for myself. And so that's kind of what I've been doing. Also, I've been using these tabbies to keep place of where my week is, because I've found that oftentimes if I'm like moving throughout the week and I don't know where I am, then it's like so much more difficult for me to find the page because the pages are so thin. And I have tabs for everything else, just not my weeklies. But again, if I think if I were to have weeklies or tabs for everything, it would be very chaotic. So I just, will use this, and then if the next week comes, I'll just flip it over and do it. And as you can see, this week has been like I haven't really filled this out, which I will go back and probably backfill, which I do. But if I do have a day where I just don't remember what I did, I'm perfectly okay with leaving it blank. But that's kind of what I do. And so going into my dailies, I'll just kind of talk to you guys as I go through this. But this has been all over the place, and it really just does depend on my mood. I will kind of cover this up here, but I did put this here on a page that I had like empty, and I just covered up the date because it wasn't in reference to that. And I have a little tabby here similar to the one for the weeks, but I took this from, I think it was like a Pinterest pin that I saw somewhere of like daily ideas to how to fill out your pages. And then I added some that I was currently doing, or, that I personally really loved doing. And it's been really fun to do that. And it's nice to have something to reference to. Like if I'm just having a day where I really want to put pen to paper and like go through the motions, but my brain is empty, because sometimes that happens where I just want to work with my hands and I want to journal and be creative and put stickers and stuff, but I just don't have anything to talk about. That's been really useful for me. And a lot of the things that I do, something that I do that I really enjoy is the journal prompts. And I really like grabbing those from like online, or sometimes Pinterest has them. ChatGPT will give them to you if you ask it for them. And you can do like a genre. I mostly do like science fiction or fantasy or humor or something like that. Something that's like really out of pocket and weird. But another thing that I do is Science Daily. So I'll usually look up an article from Science Daily, one that like calls to me, and I'll read it, and I'll kind of paraphrase it and put some comments down of things that I found really cool. And that's something that I do every now and then just to kind of keep myself engaged, because that was a part of schooling that I really enjoyed. And so keeping up with that every now and then and making sure that I'm like reading those types of formats is really good for me. And this was the day that I purchased my first Esterbrook, and that's this guy right here. I absolutely love this guy. It's in a needlepoint tip, and I love her so much. I don't use her as much as I would love to, because sometimes, depending on my patience that day, I don't know if I can handle the tiny bit of scratch that she has just because she's so tiny at the tip. But she's a beauty, and I absolutely love her with like the rose clip, and it's just so nice to like feel. It's so nice on to the touch too. It's amazing. Um, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, this is just like a combination of however I'm feeling that day. Sometimes I'm feeling, I'm okay with it being messy and I'm okay with just winging it. Some days I have like more of an idea in mind, and I'll, keep it really simple and like color code or things like that. But it just really does change. And I don't know if you guys have picked this up as I've been kind of flipping through these pages, but my handwriting changes like crazy. I don't know why. I'm sure I'm not alone. I hope I'm not alone in that, because it just changes depending on my mood, depending on where I am mentally. It will change drastically. And so it kind of looks like 100 people are writing in this journal, but it's always just been me. Um, but yeah, and that's pretty much it. Some days I write a lot, and some days I'm just very blank, and I'll just kind of reiterate random to do lists with like a bit more of words. Um, but mostly when I am really stuck, I'll just kind of throw in a journal prompt in there. And although it's like a hard start for me to start sometimes to get my brain in that mindset, oftentimes I'll realize like, oh no, I'm running out of room because my brain is, going and creating a story, which is really fun. But yeah, that's about it. And that brings us to August, which is, I'm a little behind on like setting this up. Usually for the month, I'll set this up in a way where I don't necessarily know what's on here, but normally I'll set this up like this, where it's like lessons, mood, inspiration, challenges, and goals, and I'll kind of just fill this out at the end of the month. Now, again, like I've been slacking toward this week, and I've just had stuff going on, but normally I'll go at the end of the month and fill this out, kind of just recap, and then set up for the next month, which is August. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Overall, I think in the back, I don't know if I've showed you guys this, but overall I have like an adulting log here, a cleaning log, and then here's where I have had like my pen log when I was like going fountain pen crazy. I bought, and then the inks as well, with just a regular like pen test page, which is very useful. I think this is like the most useful thing that I have, because I so often just jot down to like check colors or whatever the case may be, because I don't have any of my pens swatched, to be honest, which is would be really useful, but I don't necessarily have one. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. I don't have any of these back pages filled out, but I was like trying to do the words to remember, and I just never kept up with it. But yeah, for the most part, what I do want to do is I want to see how it goes. I do have, and for those wondering, I know I'm all over the place right now, but in the back, I just have some page flags, the little pagey tabs that for the weeklies and that stuff that I told you about, and then just some random washi tape here that I've collected. I don't use it often, but it's nice to know that I have it here. And then I have some stencils that came with some other journals that I threw in here with some, I think these are 0.5 size stickers, and some random stickers and some post-it notes. And that's pretty much it. For my journal so far. She has gotten really chunky, which concerns me for the rest of the year, because she's a thick little mama, and I think I'm starting to like stray away from putting so many stickers into her because she's getting so chunky. I love a chunky notebook, but I do know that this is only 6-7 months now, and she's got a couple C's behind that thick, you know? So I don't know how much more stickers I want to put in there, but we'll see. I do love that it's one bound book though. I've loved traveler journals and I love seeing them. Oh my gosh, Jane the Crazy and all of her notebooks. Like they're so chaotically beautiful and I love them. I don't know if for me I could do the archiving portion of it all. I just get nervous that I won't be able to like keep them all together and how I would do that. And then I have to buy like separate covers for them. And I just haven't wrapped my head around that part yet. But I do love the Hobonichi Cousin. Sometimes I have, a love-hate relationship with the coloring of the pages. I know some people love them. I know some people hate them. But I, for the most part, it does bother me sometimes when I'm writing in it and the color changes, but at the same time, when I look back and I see the colors, it's, I enjoy that. And so I have been thinking about doing an A6 original for next year. I don't know if that's going to be the move, but I do have a smaller one that I've been working with, and I don't have it with me right now, but I just love her because she's so cute and she's so small. But my concern is that because she's so small and so cute, she's going to get even thicker than this bad boy, and I'll be stuck in the same situation. But I also feel like we won't know until we try. I don't know. You guys let me know. Or if you guys have any ideas of how to archive those traveler's notebooks and you guys are currently in a traveler's notebook, I would love to know your ideas, or what your thoughts are for this coming year. I know a lot of people are starting to think about that. I know the Hobonichi season is coming up, and a lot of people are excited about that. September belongs to Hobonichi. And so that was it for my journal. I will see you guys again. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.